step into the haunting echoes of history as we venture deep into the heart of Russian ghost military town. In this gripping exploration, we uncover the remnants of the Soviet Union's early warning air defense system, along with the secret ghost town that was closed for visitors for its entire history. The 1960s marked a critical era in the Cold War, a time of heightened tensions between the Soviet Union and the United States. In this backdrop of geopolitical rivalries, the Soviets sought to safeguard their vast territory by developing advanced defense mechanisms. The rise of ballistic missiles posed a significant threat with their potential to strike targets from great distances and deliver devastating payloads. It was in this climate of technological innovation that the Soviets embarked on the creation of their air defense system. By detecting and tracking incoming missiles, this network of radar installations aimed to provide crucial alerts to Soviet military command, affording them precious time to formulate countermeasures and ensure the nation's security. As we explore the abandoned military town, we encountered the remnants of once bustling communication centers and radar arrays. In addition, we explore the life of mere people by visiting their apartments and facilities. Join me on this extraordinary journey as I peer into the past and explore the remnants of a bygone era that forever shaped the course of global history.
Hello world, it's VAGABOND here. It's been a while since my first visit to Kazakhstan. That happened in May 2022, and currently I'm in central Kazakhstan in Karaganda region, in a tiny town of Balkhash, which is mostly known for its massive railway station, and that's pretty much it. I'm going to visit a peculiar location, a tiny town located 40 kilometers from this town of Balkhash, which was a closed military town. It's now completely abandoned. That town was famous for the fact that some Soviet radar system that were used in air defense system of the whole country, they were placed there. Kazakhstan is a huge country, but it's only populated by 19 million people, and here we can understand the vastness of this country, just limitless nothing. Alright, I managed to hitchhike to the intersection of roads. This is the very beginning of the road that is leading to that closed town, and this is the actual highway that connects the capital city of Kazakhstan with its southern sort of capital, with the city of Almaty. And I will need to follow this road for approximately 15 kilometers. Hopefully I will make it. I consider this road as dangerous to drive because there is a lot of these metal peaks. Look. It's age-old, it has not been reconstructed. I forgot to mention that radio locators located here in Kazakhstan used to operate for Russian military even after the dissolution of the Soviet Union, but eventually they were abandoned, they were replaced by newly invented radio locators placed in different locations, I think somewhere in Russia. After an hour of walking, I clearly see the lake Balkhash, peculiar by the fact that it's partly salty and partly there is like a regular drinkable water. I have reached the ruins of the former communication site. Even the foundation of some buildings was excavated. This communication site was probably used for the correct adjustment of these radio locators, but they all were located behind these mountains. So the buildings become more and more recognizable on the horizon. I also saw 3 fishermen on their boats departing from somewhere here. There are some people, obviously. Hopefully they are not military. Look, this is salt mixed with soil, and these are the ruins of one of the radars, which was called Dniester. It was named after the river that split Ukraine and Moldova. The Dniester radar, a part of Soviet early warning air defense system that was designed to protect Soviet Union from ballistic missiles launched from NATO countries, effectively. There were several of these radars, and these radars are not in use right now because Russia is using radars of new generation. There is excavator, which means that these ruins will soon be completely demolished. It's hard to imagine that just 30-40 years ago, through these passages walked people who had access to state secrets, for example. And now me, a random stranger, just walked in from the street. It doesn't exist anymore. Amazing. Crossing another salty field, approaching the town, and I see 3 silhouettes of persons. No idea who's that. According to the amount of wires on the ground, I guess these are just metal and copper hunters. Right now we are entering the territory of the town. This is the old perimeter, or basically the fence with barbed wire. Lake Balkhash is here. What a lively scenery. I would definitely like to swim, but I have no idea how the bottom here is. Maybe it's full of rusty metal, so it's kinda risky. I think the first object that I'm going to explore would be this 5-story Khrushchevka. The current situation doesn't seem to be promising for this building. It's totally ruined. Also, the entrance is open. The entrance, the very entrance to the house, looks very bad. Oh man, its condition is emergency. But okay, I'll try to do so. Hopefully it will not collapse. But holy moly, it's so scary. Oh, there is a lovely example of the way Soviet people used to glue wallpapers. So firstly they put this kind of newspapers and then put actual wallpapers on them. Somebody was living here with such incredible view on Lake Balkhash. Yep, that was the reason why I climbed here. I do like the color of Balkhash water. It's so specific, like a sea on Maldives and stuff. Unlike many of the abandoned places, this one looks so chilly. Probably because of the Balkhash. I can imagine that people regret losing their job here because they live in such a picturesque area. This block turned out to be a very scenic place, so let's explore some more of them. It's just like a random kind of a hangar with even with some furniture inside. Oh wow, you see it dates back to 2018 when this area was still kinda inhabited and it was totally resettled, I think in 2020. Looks like the garage actually, so there is still some furniture inside. I found such an interesting poster on the wall of this garage. Reveals some information about Space Forces of Russian Federation. There are its main purposes of Space Forces. Among other things in this garage are, yeah, like I just said, furniture, some student's book, so it's likely that the owner of this garage had a child. I think if zombie apocalypse finally happened, I won't be surprised because I have already seen a lot of places that experience this apocalypse. So okay, now let's get to this house. Oh well, this house seems to be slightly more interesting. Probably because it was resettled recently. There is some furniture in apartments. Maybe we'll find some clothes and stuff. Yeah, its condition is much better. Wow, Soviet fridge. Many wires have already been cut. Yeah, these are the counters of electricity. This is a very new calendar. Balkhash 2020. Exactly the year when this settlement was resettled. Oh, there is quite a lot of posters on the walls. Some paintings. There's probably a room of a girl. Neighboring apartment turned out to be less interesting. This is its kitchen, so nothing aside from these shelves and sink. I found a couple DVD players in one of the flats. So many books. Fairy tales of Russian writers, some random detectives. Such an incredible view of the street with a row of abandoned houses. It's so impressive. I don't know why. It just adds aesthetics. The state of things that have been preserved here, it's so dope. It's clear that this place is rarely visited by anybody. I think this used to be the very center of the town. Such a massive playground for children. Probably in winter there used to be an ice box. There they played hockey and maybe did ice skating. It's actually very exciting to walk around an abandoned town. It's like playing the game with open world, you know? You just choose a random, let's say this one, enter random apartment and explore it. Okay, I'm staying next to the entrance to another sort of the block. Let's choose 1, 2, 3, the third floor, the very right apartment. The entrance is free, and let's climb to the third floor. The third. Ah, disgusting. Welcome. It's kind of evident that here is nothing to see. I just wanted to check the possibility of literally entering a random flat. I found such a lovely embankment of Balkhash Lake. There is a number of benches, places for sunbathing, and right in front of us there was the radio locator number 5, the very last one that was withdrawn from service. I think Balkhash is by now my favorite lake because of the color of its water. It feels like I'm watching Atlantic Ocean or some sea, I don't know. But before going to that very last antenna, I'd like to find either a kindergarten or a school, because they're usually full of interesting artifacts. I've just found such an interesting painting on the facade of a residential building. It depicts these three, so totally 6 birds, and I don't know, some kings, queens observing these birds, and also like the Orthodox cathedral in the very center. So something very Russian. Congratulations guys, I have found the school, middle school number 5 of the Ministry of Defense of Russian Federation. Children of military people studied here. A unified state exam, which is a particularly Russian thing, which means that children here learned stuff by Russian standards. So children studied in 2 shifts in this school. So the very first lesson began at 8:30 a.m. and the very last lesson number 9 ended at 5:55 p.m. They seem to have some kind of manufacturing lessons here. It's a part of the Russian curriculum. This is the subject where students learn how to build and construct things, like repair furniture, invent something. So it's like manual labor. This what the students of this school produced. They were all students of 6th and 7th grade. I know guys that this room is going to be your favorite one, because this is the actual room where children had English classes. Somehow you may understand the way they learned foreign language. There is such a massive picture of Liberty statue and Big Ben at the same time. Yeah, that's freaking continuous tense. That's what I struggled with for a long time. Information about Canada, United Kingdom, New Zealand. Rules of reading. I should definitely save these rules because I often pronounce stuff differently in incorrect way. Not to know is bad, not to wish to know is worse. Oh well, I finally found the information about the United States. So there is some basic information about the US, like its population, biggest cities and towns, who is the president, Congress, and also this is the history of the American flag. Would you expect to find it in a military, Russian town in Kazakhstan? In this room they held art classes. I understood it by these couple of pictures and the portraits of famous artists. Among them, not only Russians, but also a world famous one, like Salvador Dali, for example. I assume that they hold both history and geography classes here in this room. There is a lot of sense from different aspects of Russian history, different rebellions, fightings. So let's go to the second floor. I have just explored the lower one. There are only 2 floors, which does not make me conclude that this school was super huge. But as soon as they studied in 2 shifts here, I mean the students, there must have been a lot of them anyway. Yeah, this is the bear drop. Oh wow, somebody was kidding. It could not work in 2022. Okay, we are in biology/chemistry class, and just look what I found here. There is a lot of this kind of stuff. It smells weirdly here.
So I think that some of these bottles are just broken and their content just leaked away. And it's not good because here's pretty much everything. You see? Holy moly. There is a typical sport hall, which is a part of the school building. It's not that big. Anyway, the majority of schools in post-Soviet Union have this kind of a sport hall. It's actually pretty well preserved, especially glass. I like this kind of glass cubes. Okay, it was the school, and now let's turn to kindergarten. This is kind of the playground for children. There are different groups of children in each kindergarten, and each group has its own kind of a playground, like this one or this. It's pretty tiny. It has only like basic stuff like this sways or this. It's actually very strange to back to these kind of places that we all went through, like kindergarten, school. I understand that it was me, but it was completely different version of me. Like I was a child, I didn't understand things. My picture of the world was totally different. And I recollect these memories from my like very childhood. It's like something that you can't back to, like anyhow, because time is constantly flowing and you can't get younger. You can only get older. Strangely enough, they started reconstruction of the kindergarten probably right before it was abandoned. Yeah, it looks pretty decent. They definitely put a lot of effort to reconstruct the interior. Sadly, the whole town was resettled and they had nothing to do but do the same thing. I ended up in the Square of Victory, obviously of the victory in the Second World War. There is such a massive painting of Moscow Kremlin. I found such an interesting building. It is actually the club of officers, you know? Officers of Russian army. A place where they gathered, maybe. I just wanted to show you, aside from this Soviet emblem, this incredible mosaic depicting a soldier on the background of this lovely saying, "For our Soviet motherland." Interesting enough that they also had this kind of a sport hall. They glorified Russian sport, Olympic Games in Sochi in 2014. That's pretty much it. Okay, I think this is the closest view of the radar that we can get, because I see some illumination in front of me, and it's likely that some part of this territory is still operational. Okay, I decided not to get closer to this radar because I saw some lights working there. It's probably abandoned, but it's still kind of secured at some point. It's gonna take some years for the security to be cancelled. Otherwise it would be just robbed. But I still think that this is a win. So we saw the very last radar, we explored the town. So now I can finally return to the highway. Saying goodbye to the town of... That was a pleasure to explore it. Now let's return to Almaty.